see the faces because we can't do this physically. So if I see the faces, maybe we'll bump into each other at a conference and I say, I remember you from somewhere. Les Murray, if you can just briefly as well show us your face, and then we will get to it. But thank you so much once again for this invitation. It is an honor to join you and participate in the conversation we're having on Youth Day. My apologies, I was hoping to join as soon as the conversation starts, but I had another engagement at the University of Pretoria, which is far from where I am. So I only just got back to the office. But thank you so much for this brilliant initiative and for having us here. Before I start, what I will do is I'll just briefly share on the work that I am doing so that you know who is Cynthia, what is she doing, and if you're maybe working towards similar objectives, then you can reach out and we work together. I heard also when Mr. Marrett was sharing that where challenges are, that's where the opportunities are. So it would be great to then later on just see where we can collaborate. So firstly, my name is Cynthia Chigwenya. As Brenda introduced, I'm the African Youth Ambassador for Peace for the Southern Africa region. So in 2018, the African Union passed a resolution, and among one of the issues that they passed was that there should be 5 young people per region to represent youth that are working in peace and security across the continent. So I represent Southern Africa, but I know some of you are in Kenya. There's a representative for East Africa who is Diana Chando. She's from Tanzania. For West Africa, the ambassadorship was won by someone from Sierra Leone. He's appointed and his name is Mohamed Kunta. And for Central Africa, we have Christian Achaleke. And for North Africa, we have Khulud Baguri. The reason I'm mentioning these names is that if you're working in peace and security, then you should be able to identify who your representative is within that region and then work together. We were appointed in November last year. We are the second cohort. The program is still in its nascency. We are the second cohort. The first obviously had its term during COVID-19. So we're some of the first who have had the opportunity to interact both physically and participate in different meetings, but also still continuing virtually, like the engagement that we're having today. We were appointed in November, as I said, and then we assumed office in February after the Heads of State Summit. And we have been working in peace and security in the region. And I'll just share with you some of the initiatives or some of the work that we have done. So one of the first things that we have actually done when we got into this office was to have what we call now the African Union's Bujumbura Declaration on Youth, Peace and Security. This is something that was adopted this year. It was not there before, but after consultation with over 300 youth that gathered in Burundi, and also those who participated online, there were discussions around how can youth participate in peace building, especially because peace building is such a protocol guarded space. So whenever there is conflict in Sudan, for instance, we send the military, we send the presidents and different people to engage. So it becomes very high level and it excludes young people. So one of the then resolutions of one of the issues that were discussed rather in the Bujumbura Declaration, but was how do we get more and more young people to participate in peace building and conflict resolution. So that is what the part of what the Bujumbura Declaration was on. One of the other things that we've also done is to participate in the anniversary of the United Nations Resolution 2250. So this is the specific resolution that speaks about youth, peace and security. And most recently, I was in Harare in Zimbabwe, where I participated in the high-level ministerial meeting on youth, peace and security. And all these initiatives are to provide a problem and say, we cannot afford to do development with excluding the majority of the population on the continent. So how do we engage young people in the different spaces? The discussions we had in Harare, for instance, were on the development of what we call National Action Plan. So this is where a country articulates how can they take on the youth peace and security agenda within their specific country. So that is that was what our engagement was about. But overall, given that I've given the context of the work that we are doing, I think it is also important to highlight the role that the church plays in peace building and conflict resolution. You would be surprised, or a lot of people actually become very surprised when they hear that most of the conflicts that we have or that we see on the continent are fueled mostly by religion and beliefs that we have. And we have seen people taking up arms to defend what they believe in, or their religion, or their culture. So it is then very important to have different institutions, not just the development community, but key stakeholders such as church, such as traditional leaders, and engage in them when it comes to youth, peace, and security. So this is a wonderful initiative, and I think that there is definitely a role that the church plays in encouraging peaceful living, encouraging tolerance among different communities, and also playing a role in advocating against discrimination. One of the issues that I also wanted to highlight is that I'm very happy, especially because I listened I got the opportunity to listen to Marut, that the development of our continent is a shared responsibility. So there is no way, let's say in the East African community, for instance, where Kenya on its own can function as an island, where Tanzania on its own can function as an island, or where Ghana can function as an island. The realization of either the Sustainable Development Goals or the African Union's Agenda 2063 aspirations relies mostly on our different countries working together. An example is our conflicts that happen in our different countries. So for instance, in South Sudan, where we have a big refugee population and populations of internally displaced persons, you see that this has got spillover effects where people now have to be settled in the neighboring countries, such as Kenya, where they have to be sent to Uganda. So that on its own is an example that shows that if we really want to go far as a continent, we have to work together. We have to aspire to a continent that has got countries that are doing well outside just our own countries. So there is need for that regional integration, need for our regions to do well, and our neighboring countries to do well, so that we can as a collective do well. The final point that I would like to share in this message, because I've already articulated the importance of the role of the church, the role of different institutions that we have. I think it is also the issue of climate change. The conflicts that we're dealing with traditionally were armed conflict, where we're seeing that vulnerability is caused by physical fighting. But now in Southern Africa, for instance, we had Cyclone Idai, which affected people in Malawi, in Mozambique, in Zambia. And these are 3 countries that were affected by a cyclone. And that worsens vulnerability, that worsens poverty. And in that context, then people start to resort to stealing, people start to resort to prostitution and other social ills that then exacerbate some of the situations that we have. So there is also the role that young people can play in terms of increasing awareness about climate change. At one point, I was in rural Zimbabwe visiting my family, and you can see that sometimes we think of climate change as an elite topic where only people who are engaging in this can talk about it. But I was in my rural home where you hear my grandmother would say, ever since we've settled in this place, this river or this stream has never dried. But this year, there's no water. We've had to go to the dam to get water. We've got to go to another river in the village to get water. So in your different communities, be able to identify such languages, because they may not necessarily say it's climate change, but those are the impacts of climate change that are being felt by different people. And not just people, sometimes it's people who do not have access to platforms such as the Youth Congress that we have, where we sit down with people from Ghana, Tanzania, Kenya, and we get to discuss these issues. So in your different environments, then you are, the agent of change. You need to be able to then say, oh, this is what we've identified. What can we do? Do I, as a young person, maybe promote afforestation where we can find out, can we plant more trees? And that's just an example of being contributing to social change. It doesn't necessarily have to be getting millions of dollars to host a conference. Do we identify where there are trees where we can plant in this community to reduce the impacts of erosion, to promote afforestation and so forth? And within that perspective of advocating for people who may not necessarily have access to these spaces, the same applies to persons living with persons with disabilities. Sometimes as young people, when we gather at a youth congress, I think about my participation in elections, or I think about, my access to certain platforms. But do we as young people and advocates of our generation also think about a person with disabilities? How does someone who cannot hear be able to contribute to conferences such as the one that we have, so that at the end of the day, we have all youth and different stakeholders represented, and we speak with one voice as youth of the continent? I think I have said quite a mouthful, but once again, thank you so much for the invitation to share these few words with you, and to also share the work that we're doing in the beginning, and maybe an open call to say, even though I represent the Southern Africa region, some of the challenges we face, exclusion in the political space, limited representation of young people in parliaments, this is not something that is just experienced in Southern Africa, but we see it across the continent. So that also presents an opportunity to have a dialogue and share with youth that are in Nigeria. How were you able to have more young people maybe campaigning this year? So there's still room for that peer learning and exchange of ideas, despite being assigned to a specific region. And I think with this, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to engage. And maybe we'll I'm happy to take a few questions and then leave it to Brenda.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cynthia, for that presentation. And we also extend our appreciation to the AACC for this is already a sign that the AACC is collaborating with the African Union, and not only the African Union, but also with young people who are representing the African Union, and the African Union is also us, Africa. And I see we have questions in the chat box. So I'm going to take those questions. I will read them and then you respond. And also we have a request. We also have a request. We have it from Mary. Mary is requesting that please, Ms. Cynthia, share the link for the Bujumbura Declaration and contacts for East Africa focal person on youth, peace, security.
Okay.
Yes, please. And
I think what I can do, I can share I'll share two links. One, which is the Youthful Peace, the link to the Youthful Peace Africa program, because I made reference that this is a new program that the African Union set up, and there were 5 young people who were identified. So from this, you'll be able to also see who is the representative of your region, but also what progress has been made since these young people were put into the positions that we have. So I'll share first the link to the Youthful Peace Africa program, where the youth ambassadors are appointed and where the program is coordinated. And then even through this link, you actually have access to the Continental Framework on Youth, Peace and Security, which is what guides our work, the implementation plan. How do we plan to have this continental framework not just be a document that sits on the shelf and gathers dust, but what are our plans for implementation? What are we targeting in the different countries? And it also has information on the Bujumbura Declaration. But I have shared that link first. I'll share a specific one to the Bujumbura Declaration, and then the youth representatives, not just for East Africa, but for the different regions, are actually on the website of the Youth for Peace Africa program. So you'll be able to see them, you'll be able to see their profile, you'll be able to see what they focus on the link that I shared.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cynthia. We also have Brighton. Brighton is agreeing with you that the cyclones affected a lot of people in Malawi, and there is need for more, there is need to do more of disaster preparedness and recovery plans. So that's his contribution. And Tosin is asking, how can we ensure that young people in Africa have access to the financial materials and empowering resources they need for the full utilization of their potential? Africa is far lagging behind in this regard. Tosin Makinde from Ibadan, Nigeria.
All right.
I'm
thank
sure.
you. No, you can go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm saying that was his question.
All right. Before I respond to Dawson's email question, please acknowledge if you managed to get the link for the program and the actual document, the Umura Declaration. Did I send this to the host only or?
To the host only. It's okay. So I noted it down that you were going to share some documents with the participants. So I believe most of us, we joined it through our emails. So if we get that document, it's not only going to help those who are from Southern Africa, but it's going to help all of us. So I think even if we got it, it would still be good for us to receive it via email.
Okay. I would organize so that it will be sent to all of the participants here, because this is recorded and we have their emails, so that shouldn't worry us.
Okay, so that's great. I'd already shared the two documents via the chat option, but I'll be happy to send it again via email and other supporting information. Now, the question we received from the gentleman from Nigeria is, how do we ensure that young people have got access to financial resources and funding and other material that actually allows them to do their work or realize their full capacity? And that is a very good question, because a lot of times when we speak about youth inclusion, we barely speak about finances that need to go into youth inclusion, because to host this conference, we need you need young people to be fed, you need young people to, if we're to hold it in physical format, but also in virtual format, there are resources that go into such practices. So to then say we're giving young people the opportunity and not giving them the finances to realize their aspirations is to give somebody a car without fuel, because they don't have the means through which they can realize. Of course, then they can improvise, but a lot of youth projects are underfunded. And the reason for this, part of the reasons for this lack of funding, or very limited funding, links to some stereotypes. So if you are to maybe ask an organization, for instance, for funding of a certain amount that your organization wants to do, they will tell you, or they would prefer a proposal that comes from an existing organization or established organization that actually has the funding. So you find that more funding goes to people who are already working, or they already have the resources. And that links to stereotypes where people think of young people as incapable, where people think of young people as unable to govern resources and so forth. So one of the ways through which us as young people can change this is to actually showcase for those young people that have the opportunity to access certain platforms or certain organizations. My words to you would be, do so with the cognizance or awareness that you're representing other people you may not know. So when you do it. If we were to refer to the Bible, it's do it diligently as though you're doing it unto the Lord. And I think in that way, then you're able to sort of maximize or represent the youth very well. But apart from that, I think also ways through which we can promote the work that young people are doing. So sometimes we have brilliant initiatives on the continent. For instance, All Africa Youth Congress. A lot of us have Twitter, but I didn't see maybe 100 tweets about people participating in such platforms. So using the tools that we have, no matter how limited, will actually raise awareness. I think if we had all shared about this, other young people would have joined, and even though we have such a great turnout, would have had maybe 50 more people knowing about the program, joining the program. It will be easier to go to the African Union and say, we as young people who gathered on the 12th of August, we had 500 people and this is what we decided on. It will also be easier to drive these initiatives in our regions, because when there are 200 people joining us, I can easily identify who is from Southern Africa, who is from Ghana. Can you guys work together? So using the resources that we have is very important, no matter how little, to advance our agenda, to promote, but also to document, so that 2 years ago, people can be able to go back and say, in the Youth Congress that was held in 2022, they discussed 1, 2, and 3, and now we're holding this Congress in 2025. This is the progress that we have made. So the need to use the resources that we have available. And then finally, to respond to that, I think the first one was to be diligent about representing others. The second response I gave was to use the resources we have, no matter how limited, using the phones we have, using social media, using our networks that we have to promote the work that we're doing. And then finally, it is to, I think my words of encouragement would be that it is to realize that the essence of leadership is sacrifice. And those are the very foundations that even most of our countries are founded on, that the issues of independence, that the freedoms were won by people who were not even sure whether African countries were going to be liberated. So I think that having that mindset to say, I might be advocating today for more youth inclusion, and the progress may not allow me to be able to witness this, but in 10 years' time, maybe there will be 5 more youth ambassadors appointed, or maybe there'll be more youth inclusion. So realizing that some of the benefits may not be realized by our generation, but we have to keep pushing so that the coming generations, or those who are going to be youth in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, will have a different reality compared to what we have. So those are just a few words that I have to share on that question.
All right, thank you so much. We really appreciate. I see a lot of appreciation in the comment section in the chat box. And just to say thank you so much. Your presentation was wonderful. And I loved the fact that you spoke about us being able to identify the language of the people in the community. It is very important for us to understand what the people want and understand their language and also communicate in their language. In that note, I know we have a lot of questions we want to be answered, but I'm encouraging everyone, like I said before, we have the AACC Twitter handle, we have the AACC Youth Twitter handle, even on Facebook, on all the social media platforms. This is the opportunity for us to take our questions and go with it there so that the conversation can continue. If I did not answer your question, if I did not read your question, Brighton, if Ms. Cynthia was unable to answer your question, we can still use this opportunity to copy the question, put it on your social media platform, and tag the organization, the organizers, and other participants whom you're connected with, so that we can see and also get engaged. We look forward to that. And truly, it's really for us, it does not only end here. It's for us to take it beyond and ensure that we continue to involve in media advocacy, for us to be able to continue this conversations in media, in our media spaces, so that by the time we are having our youth Congress, people would be aware of it and they will follow us. Maybe when we're having the next webinar, people will be aware. And also, I think it comes from the fact that it also comes from the point that personally, I get scared sometimes if I'm supposed to share a webinar link. So in cases where it should be shared, the organization should also indicate that it can be shared. Yeah. So thank you so much, Ms. Cynthia, and thank you to the AACC and to all the participants. And now we are going to have the AAYC announcement and update, which is going to be given to us by Daniel. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Finally, you made it. Thank you so much, and we look forward to engaging you in more sessions. Thank you for the insightful input. I can see there are 4 questions. Chat box is 42. The problem with us, it's massive. You know, there are always, I think by the time it will be 50 questions, then I think we need to find out how to answer some of these critical questions that are within, because the chat box, we suffer the risk of losing the gist of the conversation if we do not answer these questions. Just to let Madam Cynthia know that I think it's a platform, this is a continental platform. And the numbers you see here, I think we sent out and we had over 400 registrations all over. So I was really worried that if guys were not going to register in time, because we have a capacity that, but of course others are streaming live on Facebook, and the questions it's also, this session is also streamed live on Facebook. So we will find out definitely how to sieve these questions to you or handle within. I think I got to announcement is that the long wait is here for the shortlisting. The final shortlisting of the successful candidates, applicants for the Congress, will be made anytime between now and Monday morning latest. So that we have been receiving conversation, guys are worried about the time frame for the acknowledgement, fundraising, and beginning your travel. So we will make that announcement after this session. Latest is on Monday morning. You will have your confirmations on your emails. We thank you for the overwhelming applications that was made. Received an overwhelming application, and vetting through the process has been really a tiresome work with the team here and the committee and the secretariat. But finally, we're gonna announce, we're gonna send you the feedback, all of you at the same time. No one will not receive the feedback, everyone. So we appeal and thank you for your patience. I think continue, once you get your feedback, continue engaging. Continue engaging with the working groups, continue engaging, because now there is a part for the popularization, the part for you to reach out to your churches and institutions with your confirmations to begin your facilitation. This is very important phase and the important chapter that we are headed now for this Congress. I think that is one of the biggest announcements that I would make, and I'm just grateful for the support we've received from the General Secretary, the Director of Programs, and the leadership of the steering committee, working groups. Guys, I mean, it's been well. And for the artists, the work that you've done also is massive. So for the social media, the keyboard warriors, I always call them, they try to spread every weekend. There is always a campaign. So we have a group for the social media. I call them the keyboard warriors, that once this information is out, they're even tweeting now, they're sharing now. Normally you see that we have at least received some social media traction. So it is not accidental, it is deliberate. So we have a group of young people seated somewhere and volunteering their time each and every weekend to just get the information out about the Congress, about ASCC, or any relevant campaign that we are doing. So we are grateful for the work that you've done so far. So guys, without not taking much of your time, because I've seen our time is end, I would welcome the Director of Programs, our father, and most of us is our mentor. He's always hard on us, but for the good reasons, because he's worth it. And that is how we are and who we are right now. So I like to welcome the Reverend Dr. Les Murray to give us his closing remarks. Sir, the session is yours.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Marriott, for the inspiring keynote address that you have delivered. Marriott, I heard you and you spoke from your heart, and you spoke with passion, and I was deeply inspired when an opportunity was offered to you to stay back in the US, but you choose to say you have a contribution to the making of a new Africa. That is the spirit. And I also want to affirm what you said regarding migration is not a crime. Migration is not evil. Where it becomes a challenge is when young people choose to go the wrong route. But all of us, we said migration began with God. And that is why when you read as Christians, the creation narrative, you hear God came into the garden. So that in itself, it involved movement. And so the question is, if we're going to move from one point to another, what is inspiring us? What is chasing us? Of course, we are confronted with the push factors and the pull factors. But Africa has everything for all of us. Of course, it is unfortunate that the kind of leadership we have in many African countries is suffocating, to the point that you wonder, how did such individuals emerge and became what they are today as leaders? And like I would always say, whether we have democracy in Africa or demons are crazy. Because if demons are crazy, then we are in trouble. So what sort of democratic culture do we want to entrench in Africa? And I'm happy when I heard Cynthia talked about due diligence and the accountable use of resources entrusted to us. So whatever opportunity you have as a young person, how have you managed such opportunity? The All Africa Congress that Daniel has just spoken about would offer a viable platform for young people across the continent to gather in Accra and to dream a new dream for Africa. And to commit to say, indeed, we are tools to be used for the transformation of the continent of Africa. I'm sure none of you that is here on this platform will want to miss that opportunity, as the youth of Africa, visionary youth of Africa, will be gathering in Accra. I look forward. I hope to be there myself, but not as a youth delegate, because I'll be chased away if I'm to go as a delegate. But you will find some of us around to offer inspiration, accompaniment, where possible. But we do believe that on the 5th of November, which will mark the end of the maiden Congress, a new vision would have emerged from there, inspired young people from different parts of Africa who will go back to their respective countries with new vision of Africa, the Africa we want. And when we say, Africa, my home, Africa, my future, it comes with huge sacrifice and commitment on your part. And like the GS have said earlier, AACC is out to accompany these new visionary leaders of Africa. So it is not about you are leaders of tomorrow. You are leaders of today's Africa. And so be assured of our accompaniment as AACC. And we are delighted that you have created time to be part of this. You have heard what Marriott have said. You have heard what the GS gave at the welcoming address that he gave. You have heard what Cynthia have said. You have heard the commentary that Brenda has brought to the table, the various questions that have been asked, and the information shared by Daniel. Please treasure these things in your heart that they may offer inspiration as you go forward. And like Brenda have said, the platforms are there. Daniel is there to respond to whatever inquiry that you may have. Thank you very much for joining, and we trust, and I look forward to seeing you in Accra. God bless you all.
God bless you too, Reverend Dr. Les Murray, and thank you so much. We look forward to more platforms and opportunities like this where we can share and feel at home, and we'll see you in Ghana. Over to you, Daniel. I don't know if you still have anything to contribute.
No, it's just Reverend had threatened me that he would join today in the rest. So I was really keen to, because he's at home. So he's taking a lot of his time to make sure that he's given us the necessary support we require from here. And all of us can attest that through his hands, it's ruthless, but you're safe at the end of the day. Yeah, so thank you so much, Dr. I am still concerned. The questions are 47. We will find out how to receive these questions because I know there are many that we need to give attention to. So to our moderator, I thank you for stepping in quickly and just sorting it out. Thank you that you gave us our best, and every one of us has given his best. We've listened, and you moderated the discussion well, and we thank you, Brenda. We look forward to you moderating more even in Accra, and we thank you, hopefully, that we're gonna create that space. So we come to the end of our day. Please, after the prayer, those who are not able to enjoy the theme poem and the theme song, it will be playing for around 2 or 3 minutes. You can see it again if you didn't find an opportunity to see it, and then we will end. But Aline Ngaboziza. Aline? Madam Cynthia, do you have anything to say before we begin with prayer, maybe?
Thank you very much, Daniel, for opening the floor once again for me to engage. I really enjoyed Reverend Les Murray's remarks because it was a call of encouragement to all young people, and to just remind us again of the responsibility that is entrusted upon us to ourselves as human beings, but also to divinity. We ought to be faithful in even with the resources and the responsibilities that we have in the different spaces that we occupy. And I just remembered when after speaking that I'm actually wearing this T-shirt that I got from Nigeria a few weeks ago where we were in Abuja. And if anybody speaks Pidgin here, it says leaders of tomorrow don't reach. So which means tomorrow has arrived. Your time is now. If whatever you have to do it now. And youth are not leaders of tomorrow, because by tomorrow I'm going to be 35. So we're not going to be tomorrow's leaders. By the time we get to tomorrow, there'll be other young people who are also youth. So this concept of leading tomorrow doesn't work, because tomorrow we're not going to be youth. So once again, if you're going to lead, you have to lead today. So tomorrow has arrived. Tomorrow don't reach. Thank you so much once again. And I really appreciate the opportunity you've given me to share. I might not be able to join in Ghana because of other engagements, but if there's an opportunity to engage once again online, I'll be very happy to engage. Thank you so much for this invitation and for all the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. So Aline, please close with a word of prayer. Constant, please switch and close in French. Constant. Yes. Close with the order of prayer in French.
Amen.
Amen. Enjoy the team poem and the theme song. Thank you guys so much, and God bless you.
Bless you too. Thank you, everyone.
Africa, my other colleagues from Africa, my future. Wow, this is going to happen. I can't wait to see you there. But as for now, why don't you listen through Africa, my home, Africa, my future.
Your mama, your mama, your mama, Africa. Mama, 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 Africa, mama, mama, Africa, born and bred in Africa. The home I know is Africa. My blood is African, emanating from the true roots of my ancestors. Africa is my home, Africa is my future. Africa is my home, Africa is my future. No other home like Africa. Africa, you are one in a billion.
Africa,
Your mama,
Africa,
your mama,
Africa, you're my home, you're my future. Africa,
your mama,
Africa,
your mama.
Africa, you're my home, you're my future.
We are the true generation. God required education.
So we got what it takes to build Africa and make it a better place for everyone.
Africa is my home, Africa is my future. Africa is my home, Africa is my future.
The future is us, the future is now. Our home is blessed with natural resources. We're blessed with diamonds, we're blessed with copper, oil, cocoa, sugar, gold.
Africa,
Africa,
your mama,
Africa, you're my home, you're my future. Africa,
your mama,
Africa,
your mama.
Africa, you're my home, you're my future. Yelele mama, yelele mama, yelele mama, Africa. Yelele mama, yelele mama, yelele mama, Africa.
One land, one love. Our strength lives in peace and unity. Many regions, different languages, but when we come together, we are one.
Africa, Africa,
Guys, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.